Okay, this is my video on psychology. Jack Nicholson, actor in the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and the Oregon State Hospital. I live in Salem, Oregon, which is where the Oregon State Hospital is. And I'm going to describe to you my recent experience and stay at the Oregon State Hospital in comparison to Jack Nicholson's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Number one, they just rebuilt this place here in the last couple of years or so. It's a few years. They just did a remodel, rebuild, this and that, because it was dilapidated and there's so much crap involved. But according to my stay there over a 3-week period of time, I was there through court bullshit for about 3 weeks. And let me tell you about my stay there. One is, while I was there, I actually saw a patient that actually looks like Nurse Ratched. She's a spitting image of Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'll have to look up the name of the actress that played Nurse Ratched, but and they wouldn't. I asked, and they wouldn't let me take a picture of this short little woman that looks exactly like Nurse Ratched. She's a patient there. So Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest should be a patient there. Now, in the whole scenario of the stay there, 3-week stay at the Salem Hospital, blah blah blah, is the whole point is that the staff in the Salem Hospital is no different than me or you or anyone else. There's no real mental illness there other than the fact that they got some crazy fucking people that psychopathically murder people. That is the whole point of the state hospital, is that people that are insane murdering freaks that should be there. The rest of the general public should not be there, but Oregon has made up a law under ORS, which is Oregon's revised statute. Oregon has made up a law under Oregon revised statute under 161370 for lawyers and their bullshit to do whatever they can to declare the general public mentally ill so that they cannot stand trial. The Oregon revised statutes, a DA, they don't want you to stand trial, because if you talk to a jury, the jury will more than likely find you innocent on certain grounds as a double standard and this and that. But anyway, we'll get to that later. But basically, the ORS 161370 law is for your court-appointed lawyer, because they're afraid of you, and they're afraid of the truth, and they're afraid of standing trial, and they don't want to do the work because the court-appointed lawyers, the district attorney, and the judges, they all work together. They're not there for you. They're there for themselves. Now, under this psychological bullshit, they manipulate, it's called narcissism. And they manipulate these reports and everything else in order to make you and me look like the bad guy so that they can make themselves look better. And under narcissism, that is an attempt to make themselves feel better and recognized while making other people look bad. So in that case, if that's the way they want to do it, then yeah, okay, I'm a narcissist if that's the way you want to put it. I'm not, because I don't want to make myself look better, and I'm not looking for fucking any kind of major recognition, whatever. I really don't care. I just want to live my life in peace. And I really don't care what everybody else wants. What you want, what they want, and what these people want, that's regardless of what I want. What I want is peace, happiness, and some money so I can live and be happy. I don't know anybody that doesn't want that. That's not a mental illness to want that. I don't know where they get off saying that it is, but okay, whatever their bullshit. But as far as what I learned from being there at the Oregon State Hospital is that the staff and the psychologists and the psychiatrists that work there are the mentally ill people, along with the religious people that go there and try to indoctrinate their people. Those are the mentally ill people. According to this book, oh wait, it's upside down, sorry. According to this book that I got from the state hospital, which is a schizophrenic, it describes, it's a mental illness, it's a learning experience, blah, blah, blah. This is what they're teaching. And according to this book, I was going to rewrite it. It shows their mental illness. According to schizophrenia, understanding schizophrenia and addiction, according to that, according to what I've read in this, and I've read this whole thing. So according to that, what it is schizophrenia is defined as someone that hears voices in their head, talks to imaginary people that don't exist, and they want to display that as something where alcohol and drugs addiction seems to be the cause of these problems. Now, that's what it says in the first part of this book. In the first part of this book, it says, yes, talking to imaginary people, blah, 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 this and that and the other thing. And then it goes on to explain that the cause of this problem is addiction and drug abuse and blah, 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 blah. And then farther near the end of this book, it tells that their solution to the problem is religion. Because all of the drug addiction programs that they use to fight this addiction problem is a religious-based 12-step program where they teach that a higher power and that God is the solution. Which in fact, at that point is hearing voices in your head and talking to an imaginary omnipotent being that does not exist in reality. So, at that point, this becomes a double standard. And it's irrational. And it does not make sense to base your hypothesis, your theories, and your whatever onto a mental illness which you are teaching. You are teaching people to be mentally ill by talking to imaginary higher power beings that don't exist. And you're asking for people to talk to imaginary people in their minds through your 12-step religious programs for addiction. So, in fact, the Oregon State Hospital, the staff, and whatever, and these mental illness propaganda are a double standard where they are teaching you to be mentally ill. Instead of helping you, they are helping themselves. And they are not helping you. They are propagandizing this literature and this information to make themselves profitable in money. And they're not there to help you. When I was at the state hospital, I had nursing staff. I had some nursing staff and some people there that were on my level and understanding, and I had them tell me, you know, that I'm no more crazy than they are. Staff tell me that. But I have other staff that seem to believe that or think that that they're better than everybody else, and I found that those staff are more of a military organization thinking other than a hospital helping other people organization. It's a double standard bunch of bullshit is what it really is. It's a twisted double standard bunch of bullshit is what it is. They have some staff that is no different than you, me, or you, or anybody else in our thinking and blah, blah, blah. You know, I had staff tell me that. It's like, I had some of the good staff. You know, one of the guys I went to school with there, or one of the guys there in their so-called treatment mall, which is basically junior high school all over again, you know, grade, whatever, you go to class, go to class, go to class, go to class. It's basically fucking junior high school all over again. Look, I'm 44 years old, man. I don't need to go through junior high school again. I did that. I don't want to do it again at 44 years old, okay? One of the guys I went to school with, or one of the guys that I went to these classes with at their so-called treatment mall, he went to school with one of my uncles here in Salem. He went to school with one of my uncles. I talked to the guy about it while I was in his little current events class, which is newspaper and watching the news and shit, you know. But I talked to the guy about it. And he's like, yeah, you know, he went to school with he asked me, you know what school I went to? I said, yeah, I went to North. He said, did you have any relatives that went there? Yeah, I had a relative that went there. I had several relatives that went there. My uncle, he told me the things that I already knew about my uncle, which is my uncle jumped off the bridge here in Marion County in Salem, Oregon back in '95 and committed suicide. He knew that. I didn't have to tell him because he knew my uncle. The other thing is I have an uncle on my mom's, this uncle that committed suicide was on my dad's side. I have an uncle on my mom's side that's been working at the state hospital for over 20 years. Never came to saw me. Never said a word. They call it a conflict of interest, which is bullshit. They're hiding behind confidentiality and closed doors. The Oregon State Hospital, I have another cousin from my mom's side of the family who visited me. He's the only one that did while I was there. And he said the same bullshit. It's like, look, man, we got family that's been working at this fucking hospital for over 20 years. But they call it a confidentiality and conflict of interest and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's a conflict of interest. When you screw people over for money, it's a fucking conflict of interest. You're absolutely right. And the Oregon State Hospital is excellent for screwing people over for money. That's what they do for a living. And they lie and misrepresent everything that they're fucking told. And they try to get inside your head and they manipulate your fucking life and they do all kinds of bullshit. And they don't tell the truth. And they don't tell the whole story. That's the whole thing, is this whole report. The evaluator, doctor, whatever, her name, I'll give you her name later, but it's a manipulation. That's what it is, and that's what narcissism is. It's a manipulation and falsifications and blah, 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 blah. And that's what they do for money. And they use you and manipulate you and lie. They lie in their own paperwork. This doctor that wrote this report said that I told her that my dad died in 2010. No, that's not what I told her. What I told her is my dad died in 2000, a year before the 9/11 fucking Twin Towers fell. That's exactly what I told her. But she got into the paranoid bullshit of 9/11 instead of telling the truth, which is that my dad died in 9/11/2000. That was the year I told her, and he died exactly on 9/11. The fucking death certificate I have proves that. It's not fucking false. It's not a lie. Also, my fucking report says that I was a welder and a welding instructor at my local community college, Chemeketa Community College, which I was. For my resume, I have my resume. I can show that and prove it if you like. I can show my resume to prove that I did these things. She also wrote in here that I claim to be a metallurgist, which is an exaggeration because I was a partial welding instructor at a local community college, which is false. My resume will show that not only was I an assistant welding instructor at my local Chemeketa Community College, but during that time, I was a melter at a foundry. So anyone that doesn't know what a foundry is a place where they take the geological rocks from the periodic table of elements, manganese, chrome, nickel, molybdenum, blah, geological rocks. Excuse me. The geological rocks that come from the earth that are melted down into liquid form to create metal. Yes, that is a metallurgist. That is the definition of a metallurgist. I did this on my resume for 3.5 years. Melting rocks into liquid steel to form the shit that you live by. It's not an exaggeration. If you would like to see my resume, I would be happy to provide it to you. And as far as that goes, I'm going to keep this video at 20 minutes or so because they get too long and I can't deal with it anymore. So these liars and fat mouths in their psychological fucking psychopathic, sociopathic, fucking narcissistic bullshit, they gotta go. That's all there is to it, because all they do is lie, manipulate, and falsify reports. And Jack Nicholson of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was filmed right here at the Salem Hospital, is evidence that they are still doing the same shit over 30 years later. Good luck with that.